Hit it. Welcome to Coolsville Meat Suits, Population Us. This is Read It and Weep, a podcast about movies and friendship. And we live in a strange and wondrous time, specifically the middle of season 5, Kevin Bacon's Exquisite Corpse, and we are just four chill dudes with soul patches playing a year-long movie-watching game. We're just
giving espresso to kids.
Yeah, get them all hyped. I'm your host, Alex Falcone, recording, as usual, from North Koreatown, Los Angeles. North Koreatown, Los Angeles. I was starting to think of my next sentence, which sometimes you can't do while you're saying your current sentence. Freshly back from vacation / work tourcation in the Netherlands, which we're going to talk a little bit more about in a second. But first, let me introduce the panel. Next, sitting on, if you're going around the dial, he's on my right. He's at Anthony Lopez Part 2 on Twitter. He's in Southeast Portland, and we don't know who he is or where he came from, but he's my friend. It's Anthony Lopez.
Oh, man. Alex, do you know what you do to people? Are you aware of what it's like to be a friend with you? Like, I love you. Look, come what may, however you feel about this movie, I can deal with that. But it's very, very fun because my wife, Heather, you know her, good friends with her.
I love Heather.
She has spent the last 12 hours being like, if Alex hates the Iron Giant, I am going to be so angry with him. Anthony, is Alex gonna like this? Alex is gonna like this, right? This is good. This is objectively good. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what the fuck to tell you. Honestly, I'm on the edge of my seat along with everyone else. But even just the fact that you bring this out in people, Alex, is something
big. It's big.
I love about you.
It's a great thing.
Realize that I caused this much stress.
The psychological effect. And think about,
man.
so
That's
many
terrible.
listeners have to feel that way. We're just like, we get to the favorite movies, and we're gonna be like, is he gonna complain about the pizza boxes in the movie? The pizza box is gonna be what gets him upset.
I never complained. I thought that pizza boxes were telling us something about the message, and you disagreed about that. That was what happened. No one said like, oh, the pizza boxes are ruining this movie. Anyway, also joining us today, he's the co-host of Old Gamers Almanac, the podcast. He's from the woods of Brooklyn, and he just blew millions of Uncle Sam's dollars out his butt. It's Hunter Donaldson. Are you a robot? Here's what I love about this voice that they did for this movie was the most understandable Vin Diesel has ever been. This was the clearest dialogue I've ever heard from Vin.
The thing is,
My father.
when Vin Diesel saw this movie for the first time, he was like the platonic ideal of my voice. And he's been chasing that high ever since. He heard the post-processing they did and was like, I need to reach that
in real life.
Yeah,
he just wants to be walking around sounding like that, yeah.
And rounding out the panel today, he's in Northern California, and he's a lot like you. He crash landed on Earth, didn't know what he was doing, but he only uses his powers for good, never for evil. Remember that. It's Ezra Fox.
Soul?
Before we start today, I want to thank all of our generous meat buddies who've signed up for the Patreon, and some would say allowed, other would say unfortunately allowed the show to continue, forced even the show to continue against other people's best wishes. If you want to keep us tied to the golden parachute that is Read It and Weep, you can join them, keep the show just gently limping down the tracks. Go to Metreon.com and you can become Meat Buddy. We really appreciate everybody who supports the show. Okay, before we talk about this movie, before we put Anthony's wife out of her misery, let's talk about the news. Well, that sounds worse. You're right. But let's talk about the news, you guys. And by the news, as many of you know, I sometimes mean personal news. So I just wanted to say we talked a little bit about me leaving the country.
Talk about the me's.
Let's talk about me coming back into the country, you guys.
The news. Yes, our news segment.
Northeast, West, and South of Alex Falcone.
It's weird.
News anchor Alex Falcone coming to you with the global news.
Okay, that reminds me actually.
I'm starting to think that Alex might only be doing this show for some level of self-promotion.
Yeah.
I'm not 100% sure, but
you got me. It happened. That does remind me though. There's a genre of TikTok that I love, which is professional news anchors, but talking about their lives. So they're at home and they turn on their news anchor voice, and so they're like, reporting live from a porta potty on vacation where my toddler, who insisted they didn't have to go to the bathroom, is now using the bathroom for the 4th time. It's very, very fun.
I do like that.
It's a great genre. But yeah, in personal news, I just wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about my trip. This is my second time I've been to Europe, the first time as an adult. And it's been wild. I'm still, I know other people have noticed the time changes are hard, but I've been tired every day for 14 days now.
Whoa!
Yeah. Oh, just
that's ridiculous.
Days, huh?
What is
all the days there, and then I like the last day I was like, I think I finally got the hang of this, and then I came back.
What is the time difference between
9
like,
hours
LA
forward?
Okay.
9 hours forward to Amsterdam, and so on the way back, you can just like not sleep, and then you just stay up the extra 9 hours, and then it resets. Except that's not actually how it
How
feels.
long is the flight from Amsterdam?
11.
Okay, so it's not one of those you leave and you get back before you technically left type of deals.
But it's close. He basically just erases that time. But because it's international travel during the summer of employees having quit, there's a 3-hour check-in process at Schiphol, and then you got to do an hour coming through customs on the way back. So it's a long day.
Yucky.
But
I mean, there's nothing no better way to come back to America than immediately get hit with a bunch of bureaucracy and lines and bullshit. It's like immersion therapy back into the horribleness that is America.
So they did. Okay, so there's a thing called Global Entry you can get for $100 where you apply to go through customs fast on the way back in. And I applied 2 months ago to be like, I'll use this for my trip. And they gave me provisional approval right away. And then they were like, you just need to complete your interview. The next available appointment is 2025.
Nice.
Or you can just, once you come through customs on the way back from your next international trip, we'll do the interview there. It takes 10 seconds. So it was like, there's physically no way to get this before the trip that I went on. So after I got through the
another trip, Alex,
customs, they were like, thanks for the $100. Next time it'll be easier.
Wow, that's lame.
So next time you'll bring back a bunch of drugs and all this stuff, right?
Yeah. Next time you're gonna be our mule, right?
Yeah.
They did not ask about anything. I had so much cheese, and I was so ready to talk to them about all the cheese and whether it had space bugs or whatever they're worried about with farm things. But they didn't care at all. They were so chill. Coming back to the U.S. is it's the line sucks, but then you get there and they're like, "It's cool. Welcome home, homie." But
I think that's for you, Alex, right? I think even the most jaded, cynical Border Patrol agent's gonna look at you and be like, "Yeah, he ain't a problem."
Actually, the longest I've ever had to talk to a Border Patrol was coming back in from Canada, and it was because I was bringing cheese, and the Border Patrol agent wanted to have a conversation about his favorite cheeses of the world.
Yeah.
Oh, I do want to know about that, actually.
Down.
Now that I think about it, it seems like getting TikTok famous about making videos about how much you and how effective you are at hiding things and other things. Seems like it might actually
legal term.
really make your customs tougher than it should be, right?
It definitely could have been. But yeah, they don't care at all.
Alex, Alex, have you considered a life of crime ever? Have you ever thought about being evil for money?
The hardest part of a movie, this is actually going back to pizza boxes. The thing about that movie that was the hardest for me was when they were hiding under the table and I was worried they would get in trouble.
Yeah.
That's any movie where I think the characters might get in trouble. That's the worst part of Harry Potter. When they're walking around and you're like, they might get in trouble. That's really hard on me emotionally. So I do not think I'm cut out for crime.
I was going to say,
you don't have the heart
it's not
for
like
it.
you can smuggle cheese in your butt, right? You have to smaller Alex in your butt. right? So it's like there's only specific
For
things
the
you can
joke,
hide.
yeah.
Yeah.
Ezra, to make that video work, it definitely would be. They'd be like, "Is there something in your butt?" And I'd be like, "It's a Lego figurine of me."
Oh my god, that actually is that connects very well.
That would
You
be a
thought
pretty
about
good
this.
bit.
Yeah.
I really had a great time though, you guys. I know you've not asked yet, like most people would have by now,
How-
but
Well, we are, Alex. We are doing a podcast. We are not having a casual friend conversation.
And you're the
But
one.
Sure, no.
We go off what you were talking about coming back and what that was like, so that's what we zoned in on. You
Yeah,
were like, I saw these fucking great windmills and had a
You're
bunch
the
of great
host,
meals.
Alex.
Yeah.
You host. You set up the topic of conversation.
okay. Topic
How
of
are the
Hey, Alex,
conversation.
hey, Alex, please tell me about the Netherlands now. Tell me now. I need to know.
Did you feel like you were in a fucking fairy tale, Alex?
Oh
Is
my
that what it was
God.
like?
That's somewhere else.
Tell me.
That's not.
Please tell me. Tell me now.
I mean, honestly, for the listeners, isn't this better than if I was like, guess what movies are coming out this week? Like, I think personal news might be our best entrance into conversation because you guys are fired up to talk about this.
Oh yeah, I'm excited. Tell me about the Netherlands now.
Tulips,
Tulips?
clogs.
Yeah.
You wearing them wooden shoes?
For those of you who do follow me on TikTok, I did post a series of videos about the wild bathrooms that I had, and I know that doesn't sound like a really interesting topic, but here the most upsetting thing, the most troubling thing about this trip was that I was traveling with my mom and my sister, and the first hotel that my mom and I shared a hotel for the first 2 days, and it was a very small European hotel, and the bathroom door was glass.
Yeah.
Just me and my mom, and a slightly frosted glass that still shows colors and shapes and doesn't reach the floor of the ceiling to hide sounds or smells. It was the most. We basically had to use the lobby for everything. It was so upsetting. And I asked the guy at the hotel, like, is this every room, or is there other rooms where the bathroom is? Because there are 2 beds. Like if you were like, maybe they, it's like for weird European sex things, right?
Well,
they want
I
to see
would
each other
think-
poop.
No.
Wouldn't
This
it be
is-
more like, no, we have seen your American Pornhub categories. Incest is obviously far away the
Incest
number
is
one
in.
thing
But this
in
is,
America. This is what you freaks are into. Take it.
Okay, first of all, historically, I don't know if you've spent a lot of time looking at dirty movies, Anthony, but I do feel like
That can't be number
Europeans
one,
have
right?
worse stuff.
Whoa.
No, I mean,
Whoa.
that
What is
used to
that?
be-
What are you talking about there, Alex? Why
I guess
don't
I'm
you be
thinking
specific
mostly
about your...
German stuff. But
Yeah.
if you
Uh-huh.
actually see
What
a movie
kind of
in the
German
which is
stuff, though?
German, you know
I
you're not going to like where it's going.
I don't know about the German stuff, Alex. Will you please tell me about this German stuff
I'm
you've
not
been
telling
watching?
you'll have to Google it. But the thing was, like, even if you were into the bathroom transparency, you were very intimate, you were comfortable in a relationship. But this was a room with 2 beds, so there's no, like, this is only for people who are not intimate. This is for families and for business travelers, casual partnerships, people at the same festival who can't afford their separate rooms, and to see the whole toilet from the bed in those situations is so upsetting.
Yeah, it's
You don't-
how
you
they
don't-
upsell you to a second room. It
So
totally
I
makes
asked them, I
sense.
was like,
It's
is this
brilliant.
every room in this hotel? And the guy was like, yes, we recently renovated and people love our fancy bathroom.
Ah.
And they
So-
hate are not fancy doors.
That was his, but fancy. I don't understand what
Fancy.
part of that is like prison. The toilet's right in the middle of the room. That's like the fanciest thing
Yeah.
he's ever heard of,
That's
right?
pretty fancy, yeah.
You're not painting a good enough picture. What was the sink like? What was the
Yeah.
the
Oh
toilet?
yeah, was
Yeah,
it
yeah, yeah,
fancy?
Fancy can be totally with inside. It
Also,
just
you
has a
don't know what
weird
it was like
trace to it.
before.
Yeah.
Right. Before it was a magnifying glass, and now it's frosted glass. So that's
it
an
was
improvement.
Just, before it was just a vacuum. It was just like the space toilet. You just had to
Yeah.
attach a vacuum to parts.
Honestly, it
Oh,
looked
yeah,
really
yeah, the classics.
small.
Mm-hmm.
That was my problem with it. It looked super small. The bathroom was teeny tiny.
It was very small, yeah, which made you closer to the door, which made the
Right.
outlines even
Which
clearer.
made you closer. Like if you're
Yeah.
pooping, which is obviously that's what we're talking about. That's the concern here,
Yes.
right?
About you
Pooping.
pooping in front of your mom.
Yeah.
Well, so I
But
did
Yeah.
ask.
how have
so
you
I
not
was,
crossed that boundary
Yeah.
already? I mean, I was doing it right away.
Yeah,
You probably did. You were just ahead of it. You were pooping at a 4th grade level.
Yeah. Oh yeah. When I was a child, I was definitely pooping.
So I found out that people who are on tour a lot and share hotel rooms with other people they tour with do what's called a lobby jobby, which is where you just poop in the lobby bathroom as a kindness to your other
You
people
just
you're
poop
staying
straight in
with.
the lobby as a kindness to yourself.
I didn't clarify, but I assumed they meant the lobby restroom. But yeah, that's the solution for those who do this a lot. The I you guys did ask me if I was going to do drugs,
Mm.
and I did not
Yeah,
do
yeah.
drugs.
Okay, you know what? I think you had a chance to bring up anything about the Netherlands. We spent 5 minutes on the
Yeah,
bathroom.
yeah. It's
I
like
think we should just stop it right there. I think that's what you
right,
decided
right.
to bring up.
If we're gonna start hosting by committee, we may as
Yeah.
well vote when the bit's over.
Yeah, I just think that like you could have brought up anything. The first
yeah.
place you went was
I-
bathrooms. That's the Netherlands, ladies and gentlemen.
I was like,
Bathrooms. That's
I was,
what
like, so
Alex took
excited.
away.
for like the interesting Netherlands thing I
Yeah.
was about to learn, and you were like, "Well, these bathrooms, right? I had to poop near my mom."
Yeah.
My favorite thing about all these news segments is that I know no matter what they're about, Alex will be disappointed by the end of it. I know this will not go the way you
Never
intended.
goes as well as it does in my head when we're scripting it out. When I'm planning what I can bring up, I do really like it. I think it is a cool place. It's a very cool place to
The
be.
bathrooms in the hotel. You thought it was a cool
The
place.
Low
Good
countries.
country.
Hey,
I do like-
don't call the Amsterdam a bathroom, you fucking
Yeah,
asshole.
how dare
Alex.
you?
It
Leave
does have
Amsterdam
the
alone.
best- It does have, as a city, a lot of plumbing. There are
Yeah.
there's some
Does it have a lot of
There is.
plumbers? And do they have
presumably.
mustaches?
Yeah.
I didn't
And do they
meet any
fight
of
the
them.
Goombas?
High
I mean-
plumber population. A lot of people don't know that. But
Wasn't plumbing invented around there? Like, didn't they actually
in that
invent
in that
plumbing?
you're talking
neighborhood,
about, but
what do you mean
maybe-
around there?
Yeah. You know, Europe.
Plumbing.
I mean, so it was like Amsterdam especially is a very
the
cool city.
Egyptians. The Egyptians invented plumbing, so I'm
Yeah,
going to say
that makes sense.
Oh, not even close. Not even the right continent.
But like the U-bend is a European invention. which
Okay, who
is
invented
what
that?
actually allows for
Right,
indoor
right.
plumbing to be a thing. And that was
This is
invented.
probably a great point, but a different podcast. All right, I used up my time on those things, but it was great. It's a great place. It's a
Awesome.
very cool place to hang out. Beautiful
Whoa.
architecture, density, bikes, apple tart, the whole thing. It's very, very good. What is?
So it was invented originally by Alexander Cumming, but then the introduction of the U-shaped trap was by Thomas Crapper in 1880.
Right.
Yeah.
This is a famous people love to share the image of the U-bend was invented by a crapper. Yeah.
I mean,
It's a
pretty
fun
good.
internet fact. It's only
Thomas
kind
Crapper
of
and
true.
Company. This is not bad.
It is really interesting. I'll just say this: it is really interesting because my mom's family is there. I'm half Dutch, and I have never been, and it is very interesting to hang out and to I feel like the way I think of it is basically we're raised non-practicing Dutch. I think I know some of it, but we don't really believe in it. I think so. It was really interesting to see I met some family that I never met before, and just to see this it's now a drugstore, but it used to be a tobacco shop that my great grandfather owned, and my grandfather was born in the
cool.
apartment above it. It was
That
very,
is
very
cool.
cool.
Yeah, I like
Yeah.
that.
Cool. Get into some history there.
Yeah, it's interesting to see that. It's called a heritage trip. I've heard. So it was interesting. In my first ever heritage trip.
not hate trip, right, Alex? That's what you're always going on
Okay,
about.
since you said that, I'll actually end on this, which is that every museum in the Netherlands is about the 100 years where they were super cool, which was 1500 to 1600, and that's where they got all their money. All the other years they were being overrun by another country, but that was the golden age, and all of them have to decide how much or how little they're going to deal with where that money came from, because it's no bueno, all of it. It's very bad.
Of course.
Every
Of
bit of it.
course.
Yeah.
So some museums are just man, 16th century, we did great. And then other ones are 16th century was pretty cool. And then there's a separate plaque that's however, we must admit, every bit of that money that we got, we stole from some indigenous population, but we're at a great expense to the people living in that place. And so there's just a nice variety of how much they're willing to talk about.
How much shame. Yeah.
Yes, how much shame they have for what they did to get what the Dutch East Indian Trading Company did to get all of that money. But it is no bueno, all of it bad. And the least that anyone cared about it was there was a there was a ship from the famous naval general De Ruyter that was at the Naval Museum, and it was a replica of the ship, and they were like, yeah, he did a lot of terrible things. So we didn't really want this ship, but then a guy built it by hand and gave it to us, and it's pretty big, so we have to keep it. But we'll like admit that he did some bad things in his career, De Ruyter. So like, here's our plaque with the pros and cons of why we have this ship. And then all the cons are like, he was a slave trader. He killed thousands and thousands of people. And then the pros are like, I worked really hard on this ship.
I love that.
And it was like a guy in the 80s who was just like really stoked about the bad parts of Dutch history.
Say what you will about America. Yeah, we don't have a lot of like actual old shit, right? But the shit
Are you about to do some comparative like stuff with how bad the Dutch East India Company is and then how bad America is? Or?
No. I just like
Okay.
places that like there's a lot of, it's amazing the amount of fucked up atrocities we have done in a short time span here compared to
That's
like
true. Yeah.
most European countries.
We've been speed running evil in
Yeah,
this country, and we've just nailed it.
Yeah. But you know, like the world's biggest ball of yarn or whatever you come and see in America when you do it, you know, at least, I mean, I'm sure there's probably some racist history to that, but it's not
problems there.
you know,
that yarn was acquired at through some horrible travesty. Somebody else owned that yarn, and they were like, "We just found it."
But now that you've seen like like the Disneyland American castles, and now seeing actual kind of like Dutch castles, which one's better? Which one would you rather?
Yeah, which is more magical?
Yeah, which is more magical?
Well, so we went to the King's Palace in downtown Amsterdam, which was for a while, it was like the town square when they were a republic, and then they ran out of money and just gave the whole country to France, and then King Louis turned it into a palace. And it is really weird to look at all the like, isn't democracy great? And then just all of this furniture from Louis XIV made out of solid gold in the shape of dragons and shit. And so I do think as a traveling, I do prefer that style of incongruity to the like world's largest ball of yarn on land that didn't used to belong to white people. Like this was definitely more interesting than a lot of that. Also, bikes are a nice way to travel, and so is canal boats. So it's a good place. I'm not going to compare them, you know. They're definitely goods and bads. I mean, basically, I feel like they were right about everything except for a couple small things. Ketchup is better on French fries than mayonnaise, just in terms of balance of flavors.
Oh, for sure.
You're putting oil sauce on oil fry. Like it doesn't, you want tart and sweet to balance it.
Yeah.
Also, Celsius is bullshit.
Yeah.
Fahrenheit is a much better system than Celsius, and every other like meters are better, and all the like liters are better. Everything is
Kilometers,
better.
yeah.
Kilometers are great. But Celsius is so stupid because like our temperatures, like 0 to 100 is actually in Fahrenheit. It's like mostly weather. It's like really cold places in America, really hot places in America, 0 to 100, and there it's like 16 to 22 is the range of potential weather. It's like it was 19. They were complaining how hot it was, and then overnight it dropped to 17, and people complained about how cold it was. Like it's such a like
that's not enough variance, y'all.
You need some gray area.
Robin Evans had a great tweet because this was going around on Twitter over the weekend. Celsius was Fahrenheit.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was a bunch of people arguing about it, but like it is very much. He had a joke that's like, you know, I usually hate this country and everything it stands for, but you bring up Celsius and I immediately become like an incredibly like America, USA.
It really is dumb. It's not very useful, and also like 0 to 100 being water boiling and freezing is like not great for weather because we're never outside in boiling water.
Right.
That's not a thing we have to worry about.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Your water, your air never boils, nor are you.
Yes.
It's very seldom an ice
and
cube as well.
You know what doesn't sound sexy? Going to the beach on a really hot day in Celsius. You know what sounds sexy? Ooh, it's 99 degrees, baby. It's hot in here.
It was like it was supposed to be in Amsterdam. It was supposed to be 40 Celsius, which was like a record that they'd never felt before. And if you've never touched a number above 39 in the history of this country, you're wasting the numbers. Anyway, we got to move on. This is way more talk than I want to do about this thing when I planned it out. But we have a very exciting movie to talk about, and I can't wait to reveal how I felt about it. We'll be there in 2 seconds.
Yeah, yeah, the world is on fire right now, so that's fun.
It's bad. We actually left right before it got the worst. Okay, now it's time for segment 2, The Game. This week, well, as you know, for all of season 5, we're playing a movie watching game where each week one of us gets to select a new movie that has an actor in common with the last movie, and if we can direct it to our pre-selected movies, we get a series of points which we can give away to other people, and they can't accept or can't deny it, and so we can make it unfortunate. Or anyway, this week we traveled via Brian Tucci to The Iron Giant, the 1999 American animated science fiction film produced by famous animation company Warner Brothers Feature Animation and directed by Brad Bird, based on the 1968 novel The Iron Man by Ted Hughes, published in the U.S. as The Iron Giant.
So, I mean, it's so funny to watch a movie from like 99 and be like, good thing we don't have to deal with gun violence anymore, or this anti-gun violence movie might be really hard to watch sometimes.
Good thing we don't have to worry about like these fears about the Russians anymore.
Yeah. Or fears of the other and not understanding stuff, but specifically gun violence, which this movie is actually really about.
Well,
yeah,
I would argue that it's not about gun violence. I think this movie is about Jesus, but we're gonna get to that. Have you guys seen anything good by Warner Brothers Feature Animation? What else? They did Space Jam, which is not great in hindsight. Does not hold up well. I watched it recently. Cats Don't Dance. Did you see that? Quest for Camelot.
Nope.
Osmosis Jones.
Oh, I like that one.
That one's not very good.
Yeah, Chris Rock.
Yeah, it's only half an animated movie. The animated part of that movie is pretty good.
Okay. This was starring the voice talents of Jennifer Aniston, Harry Connick Jr., Vin Diesel, Cloris Leachman, and good old Shooter McGavin, Christopher McDonald.
Cloris Leachman actually got cut from this as well.
Oh, yeah. Too bad. She was still listed on the thing that I was copying.
I know.
And this movie, of course, was picked by Ezra. Ezra, why did you pick this movie?
Because it would score points.
Yeah,
this is my movie too.
This is my third point movie. Second point movie. This is my. Where did it go? There it is. Yeah, this is my second point movie. So I scored points again. Yay, we'll get to that. And this is available. Oh, I also should mention, I'm trying to remember to do this more often, but this movie, if you wanted to see it, if you're excited by hearing us talk about it, is available for streaming currently on Home Box Office Maximum. Okay, so let me give you, because you've not seen the 1999 animated film Iron Giant, let me give you my patented 6-point micro summary. Here we go. It's the Cold War, but things are getting hot in here because Earth just got a giant steampunk-style robot, an Iron Giant, if you will, crash landing through our atmosphere and starting to smash around a small town, eating metal, which I guess also makes him an iron cannibal. Yeah.
You could be eating aluminum alloys. I don't know.
It is a little unclear. The name is Iron Giant, but I assume that they have other alloys in space.
Well, and like I eat animals, but that doesn't make me a cannibal because we're both made of meat.
Right.
Like this
is doesn't really make sense.
Yeah. So what?
So what would a robot have to be his same species of robot?
Yeah, you just have to eat robots.
Same species of robot. Like what are you talking about?
Yeah.
What would a human have to be a cannibal? Oh, you have to eat a fucking human.
Yeah,
so.
You really kind of answered your own question there, Alex.
Okay, good point. So he crashes around, not being very good or interested in hiding, which attracts the attention of two people: a little boy, inexplicably named Hogwarts, and an evil government agent named Kent Mansley. The boy helps the giant cannibal, hides him, provides him with some more disembodied robot parts to eat, while Kent Mansley tries to track him down and kill him. The boy and his robot become friends, and so Hagenard hides him in a giant scrap metal yard owned by a shiftless, untrustworthy artist with a soul patch who wants to fuck Hogface's mom. Together, they learn some valuable lessons, like that. For example, they learned that the robot is actually a weapon from space, who, for reasons, gained sentience and decided he didn't want to be a weapon anymore, and has no memory of what he was before. But
he got dinged on the head. He got dinged on the head.
That's what it was. Later, he gets nuked, and he still remembers who he is in a million pieces, but he has a little tiny dent on his head, and he forgets.
Before he remembers, he undings the head. It like pops out.
Yeah.
He undings himself.
You got to unding.
That's a good. I did not make that connection. Okay, so let me rephrase the sentence. Together, they learn some lessons, like, for example, the robot is a weapon from space who, for very clear reasons, gained
Yes.
sentience and decided he didn't want to be a weapon anymore. But he still turns into a weapon occasionally when attacked, which is bad news because Kent Mansley and the American government decide to attack the crap out of him, leading up to up to eventually launching a nuclear missile at him and the town he's standing in, which would kill all of them, just to get rid of the giant robot cannibal. So he decides to become Jesus, a Jesus weapon who launches himself into space, explodes with the missile, and turns himself into a giant glowing cross in the sky, only to rise 3 days later in Iceland. Except the movie lost $20 million, so he has to go back to his cave and not actually rise from the dead all the way. And that's the movie.
Well, has been, now that you've seen it, you can understand why it's so upsetting that all Warner Brothers has done with this property over the last 30 years is make the Iron Giant a weapon in other properties.
Yeah, it is.
They did?
Well, yeah, I mean, like, all of Ready Player One, he's riding around in an Iron Giant and using it to fuck shit up. Space Jam 2 has the Iron Giant fucking shit up.
That's true, but they also have the Clockwork Orange rapists in the background. They took everybody.
Exactly. All of it is bad, but I'm saying specifically, it's been every time the Iron Giant has been used in pop culture, especially in Ready Player One and Space Jam, were like the two big ones. But Ready Player One, when like it's such a great metaphor for like what's wrong with that movie and sort of nerd culture. Like it's one of those. It's like the stairs things in not Clockwork Orange, and what's the green? Soylent Green.
Yes.
The thing that's like so brilliant that it had to be an accident. There's no way they meant it.
Yeah.
But the idea of these characters stomping around in the Iron Giant because it looks cool, completely missing the point of the Iron Giant. Again, it's like such a brilliant like point to be making that they absolutely didn't mean to make it.
That does make me mad. I didn't realize that. That is upsetting. I wouldn't want Warner Brothers to announce Iron Giant 2 now. Like, that would also be bad, and I would assume they would be doing terrible things with it. But yeah, that's definitely a missed opportunity.
I do, if anything, like I said, this movie is, it's very, very anti-gun violence. It's literally inspired by Brad Bird's sister was a victim of gun violence. She was murdered, and that is the thing that inspired him to make this movie, and a lot of his feelings about that are in this film. And so I do think that in the year of our Lord 2022, there is a good reason to make an Iron Giant sequel, right? If they had if Brad Bird wanted to come back and like readdress these themes and topic, I think like the world is more ready for that than it's ever been. But yeah, most likely it would just be a shitty cash grab from Warner Brothers in which the weapon's a big weapon again,
isn't that sort of like what RoboCop did, where like it was like an anti-cop, anti-violence movie, and then they were like, people love this robot cop, and then they made him a violent cop.
I mean, the movie's absolutely by the time RoboCop gets like a Saturday morning kids cartoon, they really kind of lost the thread on that,
I do like the story very much of this like war machine who is sentient and decides he doesn't want to do war. I love the movie. It's a great movie. Heather can rest easily. We can hang out. It'll be not awkward next time I see her. Everything's great.
Still friends.
It's definitely a little sloppy in places. And I read that they like did it with half the crew you'd normally use to make an animated feature, and I think it shows. There, like, the art is so beautiful, the character design is so good, but like the walk sequences look like they just did it in a big hurry. Every time you see a long shot of their legs, it's like, oh, they didn't put any money into those legs. The lip syncing seems off. Like, it looks cheaply made, but then when you get like a good hangout with the robot, he looks incredible. And when the robot transforms into the weapon robot is incredibly cool. Like, they really did a lot of good stuff, but it does feel like it was, we're just so spoiled by the amount of work Disney puts into animated films that when you see an animated film for another company, frequently it's like, oh, these are hard.
Yeah. I mean, that's fine now, though, right? Because, like, I mean, if it ages moderately well after 2 decades, I think you're like, yeah, this seems, I understand how to watch a movie from 20 years ago now.
Totally. But considering the other movies being made in the animated films of the late 90s, they all look better than this.
That's probably true. Although, like, yeah, it's a cool thing to, I guess, it's a pretty good mashup of hand drawn and computer, right?
Yeah,
So,
they did
like,
a really good job with that. Totally. I mean, it's
See,
noticeable every time they do a computer shot, I think, but like in a way that still works.
I really love I think it's certainly a much lower budget than like something like Disney was spending on like Aladdin or Beauty and the Beast or Lion King like we
Right.
did last episode, right? But I do think the fact that this movie does have a very non-Disney house style. Like there's a lot of things with a lot of animation from this time, even not
Right.
by
Yeah.
Disney. They feel like they don't really have their own voice in terms of their aesthetics. This
Yeah.
movie really has its own. It doesn't look like a knockoff Disney movie, right? It looks very much like its own thing. It has its own
Totally.
personality, its
Yeah.
own sort of style for character work, and
Yeah,
it
and
has
I really like the character work. I and especially the giant. I think his animation or his look is good. It's like when they did the characters, it was all great, and then they like had to hire interns to animate them, and they did kind of a cheap job sometimes. So it looked like it had a low frame rate. I mean, I was watching it on HBO. So this was like it was the quality that it wasn't like I got a weird, somebody filmed the theater. It was the one that they're sending out to people right now, but it just looked a little bit cheaply animated, which was a disappointment.
I didn't really notice that, but I also like sort of don't disagree because there's something about the look of the human characters in Iron Giant that I actually have never really cared for that much, even though I like the movie a lot.
There's something like I think I like their faces, but then when you show their whole bodies, it looks weird, and they do move weird. Yeah, I don't know. So that's one thing.
Wait, can I fact check something?
Yeah, please.
Okay, 1994, The Lion King apparently cost $45 million to make, and 1999, Iron Giant cost $50 million. So maybe they just don't know how to get good money, make good
Well,
good
so
stuff.
there is some inflation there, but probably not that much. But it does say.
Well, there's also a difference between like 45 million and an animation house that has been turning out movies for 70 years.
True, there's some. Yeah. There's definitely some
oiled machine
discount.
Yeah.
Everyone.
Exactly. There's some economies of scale for there. Yeah, they bought them in bulk for sure.
Versus like I don't know the history of this animation studio. I knew like Brad Bird was like pretty new to the studio. Like this was, he had been working on The Simpsons. He had his falling out from Disney at this point.
Before his falling back in.
Before Disney bought the company that he helped co-build and put him back on top, right?
I was just basing this, Ezra, on the line from Wikipedia that says the understaffed crew completed it in half the time.
Money for sure.
Yes.
Yeah. So also, maybe if they spent the same amount of money but it did it in half the time with fewer people, you could also see some things that. Have you guys any of you seen the longer release where they 20 years later made a longer scene that never got finished?
They added the scene in. There's a long sequence that is like when he finds the dead deer and he sees the gun. There's the zoom in on his face that was originally cut to a flashback that showed him on his planet and what he was designed for and all this. So there's a bunch of scenes that have been floating around out there for a while that were cut out of this movie. But
that sounds super interesting.
I really like this movie how it is, even though it maybe could be a little bit longer. I think what's brilliant about it is just the economy of storytelling, something that Brad Bird is so fucking good at. The way every scene in this movie is setting up and informing things that will come later. There's not a single wasted moment. Every moment is there to inform something that's going to happen later. And it's all being done visually. It's
when the boy and the robot first meet, he's trying to teach the robot words. And then in the next scene, the robot just speaks fluent English. And my first thought was wow, that was pretty fast. And then I was you know what? I don't want to see you learning more words. Good on you. We'll just assume he picks things up fast. Let's keep it moving.
Yeah. Why would you want a more realistic tone there?
There is. I did read the new the new book from Andy Weir, which is basically about a human and an alien learning language, and it does a really good job of it and is fun and cool. But yeah, this is just like you teach him rock tree, and then he's like, "Cool, I understand gerunds now," and then like runs off with all language.
I loved that book.
Yeah.
Yeah, so good, so good. Except the name just escaped me.
Project Hail Mary.
Yeah, Project Hail Mary. It's the guy who wrote The Martian. Very good. I did have trouble suspending my disbelief every time they said the name Hogarth. I just don't know. Why is his name Hogarth, you guys?
Hug
Very
Hog
distracting.
is a very funny joke. That's because I mean, yeah, it's probably because
his name is Hogarth Hughes, and he writes his name on something that's broken in half, and it just says Hug Hog or Hog Hug.
But it's probably one. I mean, maybe I didn't grow up during the small town America during the Cold War. Maybe look, I meet
Hogarth's
kids
all the way
today with
down.
stupid names all the time nowadays. Maybe Hogarth was just the 50s version of the stupid names you could have.
Could have been.
Yeah.
Why not?
There's a couple of things that made me laugh that are like not the strongest things, but this is not complaints, just fun things to talk about, so totally fine. But like, for example, I love that when he's fighting the American army, every time he shoots a missile at a tank, all the people in the tank get up and run away out of the tank immediately so that he doesn't have anything to feel guilty about.
Right.
Yeah.
That was super nice of the people in a tank.
Movie. It's a kids movie. Okay. We don't want to see him murder anybody.
No, I know.
Yeah,
Even though he was willing to, he wants
Even
to.
though self-defense. You know, if we made this movie now, he would have killed them all in self-defense. You know what I mean?
Sure, he would be standing his ground all
he
over
would
the
be
place.
standing his ground for sure. Yeah,
Alex,
yeah.
I think that scene, that thing is a callback to, I think, the day the Earth stood still, which presumably these army guys would have seen. They'd be like, you know what? I know what I do in this situation when something fires up at my tank.
Yeah, so when you're talking about the style of the character design, it all looks like this kind of like 50s sci-fi
movie.
Yeah, it's a
movie
throwback.
look, comic book. Like, it's really cool, and I like that a lot. I do love that this kid just instinctively lies to the government.
Hell
like,
yeah.
He's
Yeah,
9 the minute he meets a government agent. He's like, nope, I got nothing here. Like, he just knows. I like that a lot.
Yeah. He doesn't have to be told. He knows the rules.
Yeah.
This look. That guy Kent is clearly not a good dude. Right? Just doesn't have a good dude anything.
No, and it sets up a good love triangle where at first mom is like, ooh, Kent, and then she's like, no, this roustabout junk metal artist, he's the real one. I am not concerned about this boy like growing up with a giant space robot, but I am extremely concerned about him hanging out with motorcycle soul patch garbage art man.
What?
I do not think he's a good influence in the long run.
He's an artist and is a small business owner.
No, yeah, I mean, come on, Alex.
The job creator. Yeah,
guys, I don't think younger
Recycling?
listeners will be able to understand this. And I'm trying to think of this. Certainly people like this still, but remember how hard Hollywood tried to make Henry Connick Jr. happen? Like,
Yeah.
I don't
young
know.
people today won't really remember, but there was like a 5-10 year span when he was in so many things and doing
Independence Day?
music
Was it
and doing
Independence Day?
movies and having bit parts and being really offensive and like Independence Day when he's quoting Martin Luther King for but yeah, what was with that? What? It's weird. I don't know. I was just watching this movie last night and I think he's fine in this, but like it's like Hollywood really tried to make him happen. He's the soul patch artist, man. Henry Connick
he's
Jr.
that guy.
Yeah.
Beatnik.
You would recognize him if you saw him. He was in a lot of things around this time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's
I can't help you,
okay.
Anthony. That's a good question. I don't know.
It's just weird when Hollywood's like, this guy is going to be a
is the
guy,
guy.
whether you like him or not. And
This
everyone's
is
like,
the
no,
guy,
thank you.
You know, like that in Mulholland Drive voice.
Yeah,
This is the guy.
I do. Oh, okay. Okay. Let's talk about the real thing here, which is that the one thing that actually like kept this from being 5 stars for me is that it is a very religious movie. It is very Jesus-y.
So I think it's Superman-y, and Superman happens to be Jesus.
Yeah, and Superman
Also-
is Jesus.
This is also Jesus. Well, no. So he definitely like he prays. There's a big praying scene. He talks a lot about souls from a religious standpoint, and then he literally sacrifices himself for humanity and turns into a giant glowing cross. I'm not the only one who noticed. This is
Importantly different. Jesus wasn't designed to kill people, as far as I know. So I feel like that's where it kind of like breaks
Jesus
off.
was not a weapon.
I love this idea of this. If you tell me Jesus is also a weapon, I'm on board, and I like this idea a lot.
Well, but I don't know.
Doesn't Jesus get dinged in the head and forget who he is in the book? I don't remember.
Well, we don't. I mean, they did forget to write about anything between his like 3rd and 30th birthday. So that was when he got a little head ding and went and hung out with an artist and made people fly.
Yeah, it is pretty religious though. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, see, I think it's more like religion and the Christ narrative like has been molded onto archetypal story things, so we think of that as the base. But like really, like these stories existed before Jesus. Jesus is just the most famous one. It's like, or it's like
there's
saying,
no way it was an accident that they had prayer, talked about and had him turn into a cross when he died, sacrificing himself.
I'm with Alex on this one. Alex is, I think, correct. I just think I think I don't like Brad Bird. Yeah, well, first of all, his name's Brad. I don't know. He might be.
Sounds like Jesus.
He just sounds like maybe he goes to church and stuff. I'm not trying to like out him or anything. It just seems like he's a maybe kind of conservative guy. Maybe not crazy conservative because he's making a sort of anti-gun movie. So like not.
I do think Brad also makes a lot of Ayn Rand movies. So I do think he's definitely conservative.
We talked about that last time. I hate that reading of his movies. I think it completely misunderstands what Ayn Rand and objectivism actually is and how toxic it is and what Brad Bird movies are about. Yeah, it's a very lazy like internet like, oh, do you ever see how these themes are in these movies?
Eddie, this is a very clear thing that is clearly important to him in his life. But anyway,
no, but also like you could like I think liking Jesus, being anti-violence, and being like conservative. I think those don't have to be like the same Venn diagram.
They don't all. I agree with Ezra. Yeah, they don't all have to be exactly the same.
But I also just think like, I don't know, it's like The Matrix bad because it has like obvious religious allegory in it. Like I don't think because you use like
people don't pray in the Matrix, and the Matrix isn't about a bunch of like regular white people in a very like 50s nostalgic type setting.
Saying grace before they eat. You know, when he's like, even though the Matrix is telling my brain this is steak, I thank God for it. Yeah. Like, we didn't have to do that.
That's like that also. Yeah. I mean, plus I'm realizing this is the Terminator. This is Terminator 2, right? Like is what we're seeing, and it's Terminator 2, just a different version. That anytime
Terminator
you have like
2 for kids.
Yeah. It's so that's also. Anytime you have like the boy and his dog, but the dog can also kill people, you end up having some of that sacrifice Jesus stuff also, I think, in there as well.
Right.
I mean, I do think that the stuff about like the anti-gun stuff is really interesting, and him saying he doesn't want to be a gun. And like Brad Bird had said in interviews, like the point of this movie was, what if a gun was sentient? It wouldn't want to be a gun anymore. But by focusing on the soul part of being sentient, and especially like it's bad to kill, but it's not bad to die, like that part of it just feels like it changes the philosophy of a movie that's clearly cares about the philosophy of the movie, and it makes it a little bit weaker to me. I care less about this robot's soul. I mean, for sure, this robot does not have a soul and is not actually sentient, and you can just turn it off and feel nothing. But even if we give the movie that it has sentience, it's like, and it's cool that it doesn't want to be a weapon. But I just feel like it leans a little bit into that, and that's part of a thing that just feels like it's not quite perfect. This is bothering me. This is not as fun.
I get it. It doesn't chafe for me. I mean, I think you need basically you need to have a thing that is not like literally like the nuts and bolts of the thing itself in order to like have something other than what you're programmed for, I guess. Right. So you need like in this world, you do kind of need a soul type element, I guess, for this gun bot in order to actually like make him not just be, I'm going to do exactly what I was always going to do.
Yeah.
Fair.
Apparently when it first came out, there was also a lot of people who were like criticizing it as being pro USSR and that it was too soft on Russia. That was like this was the conservative papers were all writing like, don't go see this liberal Hollywood, anti-gun. America was wrong during the Cold War. Like we were too violent. It was our fault that everything was happening. Like there was that reading of it at the time.
But it's not even
stupid.
It's not even completely solid in like a critique of the American military or the government. Like, the government is not great in this movie, but mostly at the end of the day, it's just kind of all on that one guy's shoulder. Like, he's like kind of
It's
one
pro-government.
bad
It's
egg.
The army's like pretty solid. It's just the one. And now they
Just
have
the
some
one guy
security
sucks.
problems. Like, it turns out anyone who grabs the radio can launch a nuke.
Yeah, that's a problem.
That
That's
is
a little
an
sloppy.
oversight.
There's
Hey,
a chain of command. I can't support that. But yeah, he's the guy. Actually, what's great is that he's in the U.S. government's Department of Unexplained Phenomenon, and his boss in that department is like, an unexplained
Everything's
phenomenon,
explainable.
you idiot. That's not
that sounds
plausible.
ridiculous.
Yeah. He like gets
I love
laughed at
that.
by his boss, who's also in charge of ridiculous things.
Yeah.
So big jump.
Okay.
So he's into Superman, which is like one of the dumber characters of all time. But who cares about Superman? Well, no, I mean, no one here is like a big Superman head. I'm confident, right?
Well, it's cool. Look, Superman is.
I don't know.
like,
All-Star Superman is pretty good.
Yeah,
I'm
I
sure there's a
like-
lot of people that have listened to the show and know what
Also,
All-Star Superman
yeah,
is, and they probably like it.
I also think people dogging on Superman is also an incredibly bad, lazy take to have, but
Okay.
I mean, that's just me.
You have to understand sometimes that if someone isn't in that world and they come up with something on their own, it's not the same as like taking a lazy way out from your world. This is new to me, and I don't give a shit about Superman because he's God and that's boring. But it did get me thinking, because when Iron Giant flies, he flies like arm to his side, fist out, like Superman, because he saw it in the thing.
Right,
But he does not need to. He does not have to put a fist out. He was posing. He could have had his hands at his side and just flown. Which got me thinking.
But he knows about Superman, and so he's deliberately.
He's doing Superman. But then it got me thinking about Superman. So Superman doesn't have to put a fist out when he flies either, right?
Yeah.
Here's my question for you guys who care about comic books.
Wait. He's trying to balance himself. He's trying to keep the balance.
Does he need to balance? Could Superman just put his hands in his pockets and fly head first?
Yeah, well, get hit in the face by the next
that?
first comet then.
Yeah.
Right? You don't want that.
You're also, again, talking about, like, Superman has flown in every possible... Superman's been around for almost 100 years.
A lot of looking, and I have not been able to find an image of him flying with his hands in his pockets, but that image in my head is just killing me. It's so funny. I can't stop thinking about Superman flying. And then I thought, what if instead of head first, he just flew like he's standing, but flying forward with his hands in his pockets? That would be so goddamn funny. Right?
Pockets. He doesn't have pockets.
Well, in this, he has pockets on his underwear.
You're saying he's wearing jeans or something, and then he
just has little pockets on the side of his underwear that's outside of his pants.
Wait,
like
what
he's
is
wearing,
he's wearing jean shorts.
Yeah, he's wearing shorts.
I mean,
he's his hands in his pockets, and he's just hella chill Superman, just flying vertically forward. Wouldn't that be so good? That would be cool.
I mean, I'd like that.
If anything, I just want to see him fly feet first. I think that'd be a fun way to do it. Like, like you're floating in a pool, you know?
Yeah.
Feet first.
Yeah.
Back. You got to keep your shoulders down so that you don't sink down, you know? Have
like
your
that.
hands behind your head in that kind of
like
resting
a water
position.
slide. Hands behind your head, legs crossed, just flying that way.
I mean,
I like the idea of
realistically,
what is the coolest / funniest way for Superman to fly, and I think maybe fetal position is actually pretty good as well.
That's really hilarious. Yeah.
Especially if he's crying.
Sobbing.
I think anything that he'd like actively be working against, like wind and like aerodynamics, like if him just flailing out and like putting his body in weird directions. That's funny to me.
That's funny.
So I did ask this on Twitter, and somebody said there's a character in Apex Legends who flies with his hands in his pockets named Crypto. Do you guys play? Either of you? You guys don't play Apex Legends?
I don't play Apex Legends.
Okay, well, just for people who have been yelling at their phones that's what an option. But if I could draw, this is what I would do: is I would draw a little animation of Superman flying in worse ways, and that's just a little. This is a thing you could do for free. You can just picture Superman flying in weird ways. That you can just at home when you're bored, you can do it on an 11-hour flight, whatever you want. This is my gift to you.
Just dabbing the whole time. A dab fly.
Yeah. Can he just dab?
Lame Superman. Oh, that would be brutal.
I like that. I don't know. Superman's cool. We just had a lot of fun talking about potential ideas of how Superman can fly. He's an interesting character for stuff like that alone. The physics of Superman is so fun to think about.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And he fought the Nazis, so I'm on his side for that. Yeah, and the KKK. He did both, right? Yeah, he was on the right side of both of those.
Yeah, he fought the KKK.
He actively helped expose the KKK and their secrets
Yeah,
if you know that.
rules.
Yeah.
The early Superman stuff rules. I do think that the movies have gotten really weird and boring, but yeah, that part is good. Also, he can fly around the world backwards and make time travel happen. That's
you
cool.
want to talk about like when you get back to sort of Brad Bird and the objectivist things. If you want to talk about like, if you want a good example of what Brad Bird is not, he is not Zack Snyder, who is like an actual fan of Ayn Rand's philosophy, right? His dream has always been to adapt the Fountainhead. He puts a lot of that philosophy in his Superman movies. They're just full with that type of shit.
Yeah, which is bad.
That is the stuff that is like, if you want to talk about how corrosive and toxic that philosophy actually is. Well, I think that the thing about like Brad Bird is like I sort of mentioned this last week. Like, he has a really interesting story. You know, he was like an animation wonder kid. He got hired at Disney when he was like 14, based off the fact that he was like hand animating stuff and sending it in, and they were like, this kid just really gets animation. He loves it. He got there. He worked at Disney at like the lowest of the low times. Like, this is like when him and Tim Burton were working there doing like Fox and the Hounds and all the really bad movies. He got fired because he constantly wanted them to spend more time and money making stuff. Right? He is just, his movies are about like creative frustration. What it's like to be like, know you're talented at something, want to do good at something, and watch mediocrity and watch profit motive way out and destroy what's good about stuff, right? That's what all of his movies are about.
Yes.
I mean, that's the stuff that people are misreading as like, I think
is a pretty douchey point of view, and it may be true in his case, and it's definitely also Ayn Rand's feeling about herself, which is hilarious because she is pretty objectively terrible at her job. She is not a good writer, and her novels are unreadable. And so she's like, everyone is holding me back. I'm perfect. Everyone who's good at their job should just be treated like a god. And she's terrible at her job. And in the world she created, people would shun her all the time because she is terrible at writing. But with Brad Bird, maybe it's true. He's a wonderkind. He is always being held back by other idiots. I buy that. But it's still a douchey perspective. And in The Incredibles, it's a little bit grating. And in Tomorrowland, it's like fascist and really bad and dark.
I never seen Tomorrowland, so
you should. A lot of it. It was an oopsie. It was an oopsie.
It's not a good movie. But also, I think that's the one. Like, it's one of his only movies he didn't write. He was like sort of like had to deal with a bunch of Disney live action bullshit stuff, but his animation is certainly where he's more comfortable. But I think like Ratatouille is definitely like the best form of his work. But also, I don't know. I think like, you know, like I
love Ratatouille. Ratatouille is great.
Yeah.
I like Incredibles, except for this weird like you're holding back the geniuses part. But other than that, it's really good fun.
I don't know. When I used to do stand up, I thought I was pretty good at it.
Yeah.
And I remember like
I thought you were too.
Yeah, I
never saw you.
Think that.
But I just like
not a fan.
Look, we've all done stuff. We've all been puzzled. I remember like working at a really bad comedy club with this headliner whose last 20 minutes of his act was he would pull off his pants and he would be in a thong and he would give men in the audience lap dances.
Oh yeah.
Right?
You know that guy.
It's the last of his act.
Yeah, it's awesome.
It would fucking kill. It would get
of course it would kill.
Yeah. It would my stand up at this club would always not do super well, but I was proud of it. But anyway, that is the type of shit that makes me understand Brad Bird movies.
And it makes you think what we should do is we should kill the no pants guy and make a small retreat in the mountains where only people like me can do stand up and we get invited, no one else does, and then the world slowly falls apart because it doesn't have its best train engineers.
That's not what I was thinking.
Oh, no? Okay.
No, but it's like that's the type of stuff. Like being in those type of environments or what make me like really love films like Ratatouille and Incredibles and movies that talk about like what it's like to be a creative individual around people who are willing to like bring the burrow down for everyone and like just relish in mediocrity, right? Like there is something to it that you can have that feeling without getting into like the toxic worldview you keep trying to pit on it, but just like that feeling of being around people who actively pursue lowest common denominator stuff. That's not a bad thing to say. Like that's a bad thing to do, right? Like if you're not pushing yourself and like, yeah, there's ways to make money doing it, but like, I don't feel bad saying like I think those people are bad people that actively hurt everyone by being poor at
So
this,
I have a slightly different perspective, which is like, I think I'm a mediocre comic, and I play mostly to the lowest common denominator. And I feel like I would still never take off my pants. That guy was actively terrible and should not be allowed in public. And it's really disgusting and terrible. I mean, it's really, really bad. I'm only okay at this. And I feel like if you've listened this far into the podcast, you've heard it. Like, you are on my side about this. And so I just don't feel like we should be killed for being like, I think people who are just doing their best, deserve credit too. And I do think that what's most interesting about his story is not being a genius surrounded by mediocre people. That's Earth. What his story is, he was a genius when he was young, so he never learned how to communicate, and he was told that he was a genius, and that broke his sense of other people. Wonderkins always turn out fucked up. It's not good for Earth. It's not good for
I agree
them.
with that.
It's bad for their mental health. I think that is like, it led him to this like, oh no, everyone is the worst, instead of just trying to do good work.
I just fundamentally disagree about the man, but
I just think that you should do stand-up some more. I just think you should go back to stand-up, because
nothing to
that
do with what we're
company
talking
is
about.
probably still working, and by letting him have the industry, you're hurting America.
Oh yeah, why isn't it
There's
on
the
you,
choice between you two.
Anthony? Why isn't it on you? Why is it on him?
Yeah,
that's a good point.
why are you
Turn it on
hiding your light
yourself.
under a bushel, Anthony? You should let it shine. I mean,
This went off the rails. I don't even know what we're talking about anymore.
all right, my last
looking up
before we
I'm
move
looking
on.
up child prodigies that didn't turn out messed up, and I'm doing my best here. Mozart.
I think Macaulay Culkin seems fun now.
Hmm.
Like, there are ones who like went through a dark period and then came back up, and like Justin Bieber didn't. So that's interesting too. But he's like telling us, I've come through it and I'm interesting now. Still not.
I mean,
so that's like a fun.
There's
thing
a
to follow.
difference between children caught in the machine of pop culture and wonderkins, though. Like, I wouldn't say Macaulay
How about
Culkin and
Blaise
Justin Bieber
Pascal?
were wonderkins
Pascal,
about
yeah.
everything. Yeah.
Well, also it's different to be like a prodigy at like pop music and at hand-drawn cell animation. Like, that's a little bit more.
Yeah.
You end up in a little more obscure. It's a smaller swimming pool. But like, everyone who's made something good in Hollywood dealt with the same system, and so making all your movies about how everyone around you is an idiot does feel a little bit.
Oh yeah, I just
douchey.
think that's a very reductive reading of his movies. Like,
Of course it is.
think
It's a podcast, not a thesis.
Yeah.
Like,
We
I'm
just-
not
wait.
writing this to turn
Yeah.
to
Thesis
peer
now?
review. I'm making jokes.
Alex, wait. Next season 6 is just reading
Thesis?
the thesis. Yeah, it's all
The
one
thesis.
thesis.
I think if you have listened this far to the show and still think I'm putting out good takes, that's on you. I've been
I'm
very
here for
clear
takes.
about what this is.
Not good takes, just takes.
just
just
takes,
takes.
man. It's just takes.
Mediocre takes is what you're here for.
Here's my last take. Very strange product, Cocoa Lax. The chocolate bar laxative available
real.
to children.
Yeah.
I mean, that exists.
The 50s were fucking wild, man.
You could just buy
Yeah.
a chocolate bar of laxative that tastes
Yeah.
delicious.
Yeah.
How are you just finding out about this now?
Really?
Yeah,
That's
I don't
crazy.
think it tastes delicious. I think it tastes like chocolate with laxatives in it. But when you put it in an ice cream thing, you lose it, you know?
Wow, you
Yeah.
could really get this as a chocolate? That's crazy.
Yeah.
yeah, man.
Also,
I feel like I only know this because it was in other movies too.
Yeah, this is
man,
the
humanity's weird.
It's
Yeah.
basically, this is just
Yeah, you
this
say
is
that
this is
again.
pranking chocolate,
Yeah.
but it's also
Yeah,
medicine.
right? Doesn't it seem built for that? Okay, we gotta start wrapping up. So we have a couple little bits of business to take care of. So that's our discussion of the Iron Giant. But now we have to figure out where it falls on the list of the greatest movies of all time, in order by quality of season 5. Where do you want to rank the Iron Giant from 1999 on this list?
What's top 10?
The
Look,
top
it's-
10 in order are
Or
the
put it in
Third
the
Man,
Discord. I don't know.
Edge
Yeah,
of
you should
Tomorrow, The
Post
Lion
list
King.
somewhere.
It probably should be somewhere.
Yeah.
It should be on the website. I just don't have to update it every week. The Third Man, Edge of Tomorrow, Lion King, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. That's the top 5. The second 5, if you think it's necessary to get into that, The Good, the Bad, the Ugly, Batman, Unforgiven, greatest movie of all time, Apollo 13, and Michael Clayton. Then, if you start at 11, is where things get controversial. That's where you get into Out of Sight, Dead Ringers, Battleship Potemkin, Pelham, In the Cut, that sort of thing.
There's
Okay.
nothing controversial about any of those. Those are all great movies.
In the cut.
What's going to make this weird is that I rewatched Soylent Green over the weekend, and for my web series, We Live in the Future, and I think we were actually a little hard on it. There's some stuff about it that's very good that I think we were underwhelmed by, but I didn't like it the first time very much. But the second time I'm watching it, I'm like, it's actually some really interesting stuff going on here.
Taste, Soylent Green is, you're saying?
Yeah, exactly. You develop a taste for it.
I bring it up all the time. The staircase thing in that movie is so profoundly brilliant.
There's also some there's stuff about it that's really good, which I'll talk about more later. Anyway, where do you guys want to rank The Iron Giant?
I know. 4 for me.
4. Ahead of Eternal Sunshine, behind The Lion King.
Oh, no. Sorry, I meant. So I want 1 right before Cuckoo's Nest.
Yeah, so between Eternal Sunshine and Cuckoo's Nest.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I want above Michael Clayton. That's where I would put it.
Okay.
I want it 1 above The Lion King.
So that would be that was 10th for you, Hunter. Above The Lion King, so the 3rd best of all time. That's interesting. I don't think it's as good as Lion King for sure. But I feel like, definitely it's got to be in the top 10. Where does it get weird for me? I think it's easy to say it's below 3. Is it? It's definitely better than Batman, which is 7. So it's somewhere in the 4, 5, 6 range. I'm going to say 5. I think it's 5. I don't know what that actually is.
Is it 5, 5, 3, 10?
5, 3, 7, 5 is where we're at. So we were trying to figure out where we put these averages, and if it's low enough, does it go above? So do we put that above 5 or below 5?
I think we're doing above.
So what does the average come out to?
5.3.
Yeah, it's
the
new.
That should be above.
It's a new 5.
So the new 5, The Iron Giant, which also means that 2 of our top 5 movies are animated now, which I like, and 3 of our top 10. Excellent. Okay, so next up, it's time we've got to do some points. Ezra,
the
scorekeeper, what is our official score right now?
Oh wow, it's a great score. So we got Anthony first place, 11 points. Hunter second place, 9 points. Alex third place, 8 points. Ezra fourth place, 7 points.
Nice. All right. Well,
you got so sad there, Ezra.
You picked this. You picked this. We didn't actually discuss the point split, but I think a traditional point split is fair, 3-2. So I'm going to take 3 and I'm going to give you 2. What does that do to our score?
We have a tie. So now Anthony and Alex are tied for first with 11 points, and another tie. Ezra and Hunter tied for second with 9 points.
Intriguing.
Is someone right about to shoot up to first place with another choice we have coming up here?
Hunter's next, so he could make some interesting decisions that way, which I'm sure him and Ezra have discussed offline, but I don't know if they're friends yet or they're still feuding. Before we do that, it's time for me to pick my next movie to replace it, since that was my second scoring movie. I was reading I've enjoyed animation a lot on the show, and you know that I like animated movies a lot. I was looking at a list of best animated features of all time, and there was one that I had never heard of that I really want to watch after it was on this top 10 list that I saw, which is it's called Alice. It's from 1998. Do you guys know the 1998 Alice? It's from a Czech surrealist filmmaker named Svankmajer.
It's the Alice in Wonderland animated
That was in 1998? I thought it was older than that. I've seen that.
You have?
Yeah.
What did you guys think of it? No, or 88. Sorry, not 98.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. I was like, that's weird.
Yeah.
Just a typo. What did you guys think of it?
I don't like these pictures.
It's wild.
Yeah.
It is wild.
I really want to watch it. Just the quote from him that was like, everyone misunderstands this as a fairy tale. It's really like about an amoral nightmare. I love that reading going in. And it's stop motion except for her.
How are we going to get to this, buddy?
I definitely want to pick this, but it's impossible. Like, IMDb lists one actor and she's only been in TV shows. Like, there's just nothing.
Real quick sidebar. Have any of you guys seen the trailer or seen yet Mad God? The Phil Tippett movie that just got released?
No.
Do you guys know who Phil Tippett is?
No.
He's like an animation pioneer. He's the guy who did the Rancor fight in Return of the Jedi.
Oh, cool.
Did most of the stop animation. on all these old like ILM movies. He's like an animation brilliant. Like if you look at his filmography, he's worked on like almost every movie you love.
Okay.
But he has been working on a stop animation, like horror sci-fi film. And after 30 years of working on it slowly, it just finished and got released now.
No kidding.
Mad God. You should watch the trailer for it. It's available online. I haven't gotten around to seeing it yet. I hear it is quite the experience. But yeah, it's a complete stop animation, hand animated by Phil Tippett over 30 years.
Wow,
Dude,
Really fascinating thing that
sounds amazing.
he's been working on. But yeah, look at
this.
it looks wild. I really want to see it.
I'm curious. I like stop motion a lot. I don't like horror, but these are like, it would be worth it, I think. And that's how I feel about Alice. Anyway, I like that, but I'm not going to choose it because it's basically impossible. I was back and forth. I have two things that I'm trying to decide between, and maybe I can just feel you guys out a little bit really quick, which is one, to stay in top 10 animated films. I have not yet seen Princess Mononoke. I've seen a lot of the other ones from Ghibli, but I have not seen that one, and it's the one that I'm like, I've seen. There's a couple I haven't seen, but that one's on the top of my list that I would like to see. So that's kind of interesting. And then the other thing is, I was thinking back, there was if you guys recall, when we had last season, when we had Laser on, they were talking about a bunch of movies that they thought were influential. We watched, I can't remember what we watched now. Really, really good movie about the women in New York. Anthony, you're good at this. Please.
The Women in New York.
Women
In New York?
Sex in the City.
No, the rich. Well, it was the rich older lady in the red coat and her cool. You got it, Hunter. Tell me, please. I'm embarrassing myself
It's just
on
like a name, isn't it? It's
Wait, like Grey Gardens? What are you?
no. Oh, what is it called? I'm dying. I'm dying.
It was on Laser's list of cool queer movies that we haven't seen yet. And I just can't remember.
Is this the movie you're picking, or is this another fake out?
Anyway, this is another movie so I was thinking of another movie from Laser's list, which is But I'm a Cheerleader from 1999.
Yeah.
I just watched that. That movie owns.
Yeah.
That movie is so good.
Yeah.
Oh, but I don't want to make you watch a movie you just watched.
I just won't watch it. I literally just watch. You can check it out on my Letterboxd. I watched it like 3 weeks ago.
Okay.
It's fresh on the dome. Loved it.
Great cast.
So good.
Yeah. But I'm a Cheerleader is like a seminal queer theory.
Cheerleader from 1999, and I'll put Princess Mononoke on hold for later, and then Alice I'm going to watch on my own time.
Great movies, Princess Mononoke and But I'm a Cheerleader, both great movies.
Hey, wait, was the movie Carol? Was that the one that
Carol.
we watched?
Yes,
Carol.
Wait, this was from the episode where we watched Carol. Laser had given us a bunch of different movies that we could maybe watch and that were influential to them. And But I'm a Cheerleader was on that list, and I have just heard nothing but great things over and over again. And they were playing it at the cemetery around the corner from me the other day, and I missed it. And so I've been just like thinking about watching it. Anyway, so that's my new pick from 1999. It's also 2 in a row from 1999. It's keeping me in the late 90s. All of my movies, which I like.
1999 is like one of the best years for movies of all time. The amount of good movies that got released in '99.
What did you say, Ezra?
Mind-boggling.
It's Anthony. Virgin Suicide is also 1999.
Yeah, Virgin Suicide is 99. And Hunter's movie is 97. So we are hovering around the late 90s a lot, which is fun. Great year for movies. Okay, last thing to do then. So Ezra's going to go on vacation this week, so we're gonna be back. We're gonna just Anthony, Hunter, and I are going to do a special episode that is not part of the game. But before we leave, Ezra is going to, or Hunter, you're going to pick a movie that we'll do when Ezra comes back. So Hunter, the last movie of round 6 of the game, what are we watching? For those of you listening and not watching on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/AlexFalcone, Ezra is already making a lot of faces. Hunter looks like he's playing it close to the vest, but clearly something is going on with these boys that I do not know about. So,
I guess for context, so last time Hunter and I looked at our Discord, one on chat. Last time was very much me saying like, "Hey man, we're still on for Avengers Endgame, right?" And so I do have a way to make it so Hunter doesn't get to pick and me just to go for it directly. But
oh shit,
you have to do that before he picks.
Yeah. But I realized I
Ezra, this
really
is what you
actually
did to
want
me
to know.
last time, though. Last
Yes.
time I
Yes.
did not get to pick a movie, and instead
So last
something
time
else
you guys
happened.
had an agreement, you didn't pick Avengers Endgame, and so Ezra sacrificed the whole thing and turned it into spaghetti western.
Yeah. But
So
I was
he's threatening you again. Just to be
Okay,
clear,
no, I'm
Hunter,
not
he's
threatening. I'm
making
not threatening.
a threat.
I'm not.
Hey.
No, because I can't stop it. Because I just realized I'm very curious to actually know what kind of person Hunter is. So I'm very happy to go after this football again and see if Lucy will take it away
Let me just play my hand
Okay.
open. Okay, it's my turn.
Yes,
I'm laying
absolutely it
all
is.
my cards face
Yeah.
up on the table.
And we could
Here-
move to Avengers Endgame, which
We
would
could
be
move to
the
Avengers Endgame,
most
which Alex
depressing universe.
really doesn't want. Alex
badly.
super does not want to do Avengers Endgame. Okay. Now I assume if I move to two things happen if I move to Avengers Endgame that are good for me. Actually, Alex, you need to be listening. All right, because I'm about to make a proposition to you, and you might mess it up. So if we move to Avengers Endgame, obviously me and Ezra do a split. I assume it's the normal split. Ezra gets 3 points. I get 2 points. Although Ezra actually is pretty wild with the split, so who knows?
Who knows?
And
Well, he
then,
would do something weird with his 3 points, but
right. And then from Avengers Endgame, if either me or Ezra are next pick, I assume we can go to Shang-Chi and then to Happy Together, right? I mean, that's a lot of stuff that has to line up, but
I really want to see Happy Together. That intermediary movie is making it harder.
I know. It sucks.
Hey, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, I liked it.
Last time I came up with a more convoluted way to get there, and it got taken away from me. All right, so I would like to get to my movie. However, if I have a power card that would get me to But I'm a Cheerleader.
Oh,
Okay, I have a card that would do it. Now, why would I do it?
because you just
Alex?
watched it and you like it.
Why would I do it though? Give
Because
me
you
a
like the
reason to
movie.
do that. I have to. In this scenario where I help you out, I am spending one of my own power cards, and I'm closing myself off from getting to Happy Together.
Well,
and
so
I want to
let's be
get
said,
to.
betraying Ezra a second time. Just put it out
Betraying
there.
Ezra a second time. I mean,
Well,
it
so
would have
you've
to
already
be-
answered your own question. That's its own reward. Betraying
no.
Ezra a second time is worth it. That's
No,
on
no,
its
no.
own.
I just want to know if you would willing to make some sort of ridiculous deal with me.
Well, I would give you a non-standard split for that. I would give you a 3-2 split points wise.
That's not going to be enough.
I would also tell you this. I want to watch your movie. So with no work from you, I am dedicated to getting you to Happy Together if I possibly can. So regardless of what happens with you and me, if there's a chance for me to pick the intermediary movie, then we get to watch Happy Together next, I'm doing it. I'm already sold.
I don't want to. You know what? I don't want to take the hit of betraying Ezra twice in a row. I need to work with this
You mean
table.
the victory? You mean the joy?
No,
I would get you to if I could. So that's the thing. I have this. I have
Listen,
a power card.
Yeah.
that-
Okay.
In some random cases, I could get to Happy Together. I just don't know what until I Google what the aspect ratio of each of the movies is.
Here's the thing. My card that I would use to get you to But I'm a Cheerleader is also a way for me to get to Happy Together. It's just really kind of specific and annoying, but it just hasn't come up. The opportunity hasn't come up. So I think
I'd love you to do that.
Yeah, I'd love me to do that too. I think I am going to play it safe and play it. The most likely way for me to get to Happy Together and soon is to travel through Vin Diesel to Avengers Endgame.
Hell yeah.
That's what I got to do. I'm sorry, Alex.
Thanks, Hunter.
I'm going to get a lot of work done while that movie is playing in the background with the sound off.
We could do
Yeah.
the party watch with people in 2 weeks.
Party watch.
Oh yeah, we did talk about that.
Party watch. We're gonna party watch Avengers
God.
Endgame. It's gonna be a party.
Oh my
all right.
God. I don't
We're not
wanna
even gonna
this
watch the movie.
I
We're
so
not even
badly
gonna
don't wanna
watch
watch
it.
this movie.
It's so. Come on. It's.
Well, so you remember when we did the party watch of that Matt Damon movie?
Yeah. The
This
wall.
will be a lot like that, where like we're
Yeah.
watching something that is complete drivel on screen, but we're hanging out, so it's fun.
Yeah.
I mean,
Exactly. We'll hang out.
Avengers Endgame's actually kind of good. I mean,
It's
that's the
slightly
difference.
worse than the Great Wall. It's the same like plot wise and character wise, but it's a little less fun in the acting.
Oh my God.
I think it's fun to talk about. Actually, I don't think
Yeah.
it's very fun to watch, but I do think it's fun to think about.
Okay.
Yeah,
So here's what we're gonna do. We gotta get
think
going.
it's-
Yep.
So here's what we're gonna do. So Hunter is picking Avengers Endgame. Okay. Hunter picks Avengers Endgame via Vin Diesel. Yay. But we will try to figure out. So here's what we're gonna do. While Ezra's on vacation, we're gonna do a special bonus episode of just Anthony and Hunter and I watching the new film Nope, which is the new Jordan Peele movie, horror movie. And all I know about it is that Universal Studios already built a theme park based on the movie that opened at the same time as the movie, which is bananas. And that's all I know. But I'm gonna go watch it. He's obviously earned it. It seems like early talk is good, not surprisingly. So we're gonna watch that and talk about it. I don't like horror, but it's worth it with him. And then Anthony is going to reveal once and for all on this very program his grand unified field theory of Jordan Peele, and I can't wait. Then sometime after
Ezra selling it a little bit, my reading of Us that I haven't really seen anyone talk about, but Us, I believe, is one of the smartest horror movies ever made, and I very rarely have ever seen anyone hit on my interpretation of the movie.
I hope nobody refers to your take as lazy next week. And then sometime after that, when Ezra gets back, we are going to schedule like probably a weekend mid-afternoon. We're going to do a live watch on Twitch of Avengers Endgame, and you guys probably won't join us, and that's fine, but we'll post about it. We'll partner with Hunter's Twitch channel, and you can have Twitch on and then click our link to watch it on Disney Plus at the same time, and you can get our Mystery Science Theater style commentary / if you want to hear me sigh a lot during a movie, you can do that. We'll figure that out in the off hours, but that's all coming up next. But now we got to get out of here. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. On behalf of Anthony and I, who are leading this game by a lot, and Ezra and Hunter, who are way behind, we really appreciate you listening. If you have thoughts, if you want to call any of my takes lazy, you can email us podcast@read-weep.com. Also, you can tell us if you want more or less news. Tell us how you feel about the news segment, podcast@read-weep.com. And, of course, you can become a Meat Buddy by going to Metreon.com. You can also watch us do the show, not live, but you can watch us unedited because it's too much work by going to youtube.com/AlexFalcone. You can see our faces while we do it. You can see what toy Ezra's holding up during the music. All of that. We really appreciate it for all of you. What is it?
It's Discord for My Little Pony.
Of course. All right. Well, thanks for being here, Ezra, in Discord.
Yep.
Thanks for being here, Hunter.
Of course. Thank you.
And Anthony. We'll talk to you guys next week for Nope.
Yep.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
And